outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside.
For the very first time in a very, very long time, I don't think I have ever seen this in my life. President Biden warns Americans, leave now if you plan Christmas travel. Today has been a absolutely wild day. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But of course, the president actually telling the entire country, if you plan to travel, do it now. It's pretty wild. It says the United States faces dangerous and threatening storms in the days before Christmas. President JB warned on Thursday from the White House that Americans who plan to travel to visit family or friends should leave right away. It says it's dangerous and threatening. It's really very serious weather, and it goes from Oklahoma all the way to Wyoming and Maine. So I encourage everyone to please heed local warnings. If you all have travel plans, leave now. Not a joke. I'm sending my staff. If they have plans to leave tomorrow, I'm telling them to leave now. He's basically saying by tomorrow, this is going to get a whole lot worse, and we'll show you why. You can see clearly from the map, this thing has gone way nuts compared to even yesterday's map. We showed you this yesterday. That was all the way up at the very top. Now it is at the very bottom of the United States, and apparently we're not even in the worst of it yet. So we'll talk about this and everything else that's going on with Vlad, of course, a carrier that has caught fire again, and then everything else that has happened in the last 24 hours. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News, Marfoogle News.
All right, what is going on? I hope everybody is happy and having a happy holidays right now. What is happening? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to go over a lot of stuff, and if you are new here, remember to go over to the website, marfooglenews.com, and find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to share here tonight. We have a lot to go over. Of course, some of my peers are actually saying right now that we are close to nuclear conflict. We'll talk about what our opinions on that are. Obviously, nobody wants to see that. But right now, something big is going on. At the same time as everything happening and all the earthquakes and all the crazy wild stuff, we have some of the worst weather we have had, I believe, in my lifetime as far as the lower 48 and how much of it is being affected right now. But go over to the website. You'll see that you can find today or tomorrow, and that's not even representing the weather. That is actually quotes from experts saying when the next attack may happen on UKR. It says another carrier on fire, of course, referencing the Russian aircraft carrier, their only one, caught fire in dry dock. Sound familiar? It's happened quite a few times. So when you click on this, all you have to do is look for today's thumbnail on the website, not once, but twice, fire, and then it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document there. And at the very bottom, there is a yellow bar. That is all of the overflow, all the stuff that cannot fit into a 2-hour time period. We will talk about that with Dex at the very end. On top of that, make sure to hit marfooglenews.com/friends. Lots of really, really great people there. There's a few that are right at very big milestones, so make sure to go over there and subscribe to everybody and help them out. And then Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so let's talk about this map. I wish we would have taken a screenshot of yesterday's map, because yesterday's map was it was impressive by itself, and now it has gone much worse. And I was talking to Dex before the show, and I hate to say it, but I've never seen. I guess I've never. Maybe it's because I've never seen a map like this or how it's put out like this. Maybe this has happened before. Do you guys remember a time where this has happened so severely in your lifetime? They say in the media that this is a once-in-a-lifetime or once-a-generation type of thing. I'm kind of, by looking at it, it kind of looks like it. You're going to see snow and freezing temperatures. You're already seeing freezing temperatures in, look at all the states that you have freezing temperatures. A lot of these states usually don't go below 70 in some of these times of years. Dex, you also noticed something different that is going on in Georgia that is happening right now. What are they doing there?
Well, we've been putting down brine, I guess is what some would call it, but basically a saltwater solution on the roads. And they've been doing it for the last 2 days in advance, I guess, to get some sort of solution on the road in advance of this coming through, because we've had rain forecasts that are going to happen right before the cold weather comes in. And they're predicting that this cold weather is going to drop like 30 degrees all the way down way below freezing, but happen in a 1 or 2 hour period. So you're going to get this massive drop. And, usually when it rains, it dries up and then it may freeze later, but it's rare that everything ices over. But I think they're preparing for something bigger than we've been really discussing, because it just seems like they're doing a lot more. We've seen generators moving around. I know Bones had sent in a picture of a whole bunch of generators on a truck. He'd seen multiple. I've talked to other folks that have seen them moving around quite a bit. Obviously, power is going to be a big issue. Ice is going to be a big issue for many people, because a lot of these places have all this moisture that's been being dumped on it. Like right now, we're not freezing. And in Georgia, it's like 40. It was like 44, 45 degrees, and it was actually going to go up to like 48 where I'm at, 49 degrees, before it goes back down super cold in the middle of the night tonight.
Now, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for just a second here. They say that this cold front is coming straight across, and it's kind of rare, but it's flying over, and it's coming from Siberia. Just curious, and I just wonder, let's just say a hypothetical situation that possibly the very, very top of the food chain, world powers, were able to do something, right? Just something to, I don't know, just change things around a little bit. This is a disaster. Look at what this is. I mean, we're talking about -9 degrees in pretty much all of Texas, pretty much negative degrees in almost all of Texas. You're talking about Nevada in freezing temperatures. You're talking about Oregon in -15, and Washington in -15, -50 degrees in Montana. This is huge. This is a crazy, crazy storm. They call it a storm, right? But it's, of course, being referred to as a phenomenon or a once-in-a-lifetime thing. At the timing of all of this is happening, we, of course, have other countries where actually it just so happens, coincidence, that this is coming from the place, the very cold area of the Siberia, that they are saying that, that they could use advanced things on the U.S. to basically respond to how we are meddling in their affairs. I just wonder what if, and what's crazy is you can't even ask that question, because guess what? That's like the no-no subject you're not supposed to talk about, because it goes against some other things that are controversial. But at the same time, if you're looking at what technology we have right now, quantum computing, they are literally saying that they're able to put a message into a space-time continuum at this point. They're doing experiments making black holes and wormholes. But you don't think that they can possibly do something to change things around? I don't know. It just seems like that's not freedom of speech if you can't ask that question. As far as could something like this be used as a weapon? Well, we know it can. In fact, countries did a treaty a long time ago, way before a lot of this, and they actually agreed not to do, they said it actually included, and we'll back this up, where they said that They were not. All the countries agreed not to do earthquakes, and they said basically earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, blah blah blah, all of these different things, and that was included in this treaty because the fact is they could start them. So we knew that they could start these things, but they had no control how to stop them. So even the fact that earthquakes was put in there is kind of crazy. The fact that actually, if you think about it, it seems like the more simple one, right? If you had some sort of explosives cause an earthquake, put it in the right place, I don't know. But at the same time, there was a lot of things on there that are like, whoa, wait a second. And this was decades ago. And they agreed not to do it, not because it was, not because it was not possible, because they couldn't stop it. Basically, they said that they were WMDs, or weapons of mass destruction, that were not controllable. So they agreed not to do it. I just wonder if anything has changed over the years that may have made that more usable, or maybe maybe that's not so true anymore. Maybe they are able to stop them after they've started them or something. Not saying that that's what this is, but again, I just wanted to put my hat on for a second. As far as this, we're going to update this right now. As I updated, there was actually a state removed from this, but when we first loaded this, Texas was yellow and there were no other states involved. And this was just a couple hours. Dex, what would you say? 4 or 5 hours ago, it was just Texas?
Yeah, it was just Texas, and actually Oregon was on there because there were storms over there. But obviously, when these outages happen, the linemen are out trying to repair them. So a lot of times when it's cold like this, some of these areas, it's ice related. So a tree will fall, take down a line, and it may reroute some of the power. And then there's an outage, and it takes time for them to get those repairs done. Matter of fact, some of the states like I want to say Arkansas was in the yellow, but now it's at 9,000. So it's just under the 10,000 mark. Even so, while it's blue, it's really, it's still got some 9,000 people out there. Texas used to be yellow. Now it's orange. So it's growing. If you guys want, there's a link to this on our website. It's an easy website, poweroutage.us. It'll give you a map. It's real time from all of the power companies and their reporting. So you can see exactly what's happening in real time as it changes, and you'll see these will change. I imagine some of these will get better, and then some of them will go back worse again as different events happen throughout the storm.
Oklahoma.
As a matter of fact, there's actually
Oklahoma just got better. It just refreshed it. Oklahoma has now less than 10,000. It has 8,000. But as we say, this is earlier. It was just Texas. Now it was all of these. Then they fixed it, and then this is the area. The entire United States is now just hitting what is going on. So we haven't even seen really the bad part of it yet. 5,000 in Washington, 7,000 close to in Oregon. Surprisingly, only 810 in California, but I guess they have those rolling blackouts in summer. Dex, if you could just talk about this for a second, I just need to plug something in real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things. So I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't know the full details, but when I was listening to a meteorologist, they actually said there's a second storm. So what we're seeing here in the Midwest or through the middle of America that's going to go through the East is the big one that everyone's talking about. But the second one is the one that's actually hitting you in the state of Washington. So that's another one that's coming through right after. So they're different, but I guess they're connected because they're side by side. The other thing, there was a great comment. Mr. Floyd in chat said a world record temperature drop in Boulder, Colorado yesterday. It went from 44 to -8 in 7 minutes. So if that's the case, sounds like a huge drop to go from 44 to -8 in 7 minutes, and it does sound to me like that would be a world record. That's a pretty quick freeze.
Can we find confirmation about that? We should add that to the website.
Yeah, I'm gonna look
insane.
for it right now.
So from 44 degrees to wait, was it 44 degrees to -8? Or no, in 8 minutes.
No. His comment is 44 degrees to -8 degrees Fahrenheit in 7 minutes.
I mean, that's like something out of a movie. That's like something out of the movie 2012 in that end scene where everything starts freezing and it's like following them through the hallways. That sounds like that kind of freezing. That's pretty nuts. All right, so if you have video of a crazy weather phenomenon going on in your state, because it's going to start hitting even more people It's going to get worse over the next 48 hours. Which oddly enough, what's crazy is all of the chatter, and we're just talking about what people are saying right now. A lot of people are in a lot of high tensions right now because a lot of people are saying all of these things on the internet, but also backing them up with some of the things, the big events that are happening right now. We're going to talk about Japan. We're going to talk about Russia, UKR, everything else that's happening right now. All at the same time in this last week of 2022. It would be wild if something really big happened, and I'm hoping it doesn't, but everybody's talking about it as it is, right? At the same time as this, we have all of this cold. People have been talking about how they believe something is going to happen in the next few weeks. Now, you can't always just say you believe that, but again, the internet, when there is just, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people saying something, over time, normally that's actually come out to be true. There were rumors and theories that, 90% of them at this point have now come true. As far as all of the Walmart stuff and all of the different things that came out about border stuff back when T-Man was in office, and all of sorts of conspiracies have come true. So I just wonder if there's any truth to that. When you have a lot of people saying something, then it's hard to kind of say that it's completely BS when there's just so much out there. And then criminal defense attorney explains why you should avoid self-checkout lanes. This is a wild one. It says the lawyer is going viral after sharing why she often suggests that shoppers avoid self-checkout lanes. It says Carrie Jernigan is a criminal defense attorney with more than 1 million followers on TikTok. Much of her page is dedicated to the aspects of the legal system that TikTokers may not know about. And it says in one recent video, Jernigan said that she typically tells people to steer clear of the self-checkout lanes. The reason: shoplifters. As Jernigan explains it, she usually sees these kind of people getting charged with shoplifting after using a self-checkout lane. The first, she says, are professional shoplifters. The second group, however, are those guilty of what she calls theft by mistake. This, according to Jernigan, is what innocent people can get into trouble. These are people that genuinely think they just forgot to scan an item. She says it is usually something that was on the bottom rack of the cart, and when they are walking out, asset protection stops them. It says Jernigan explains that in the early days of self-checkouts, she noticed stores letting people off if they forgot to scan an item. They let almost all of these people either scan and pay for the item or just let them go, but took the item they did not pay for. Now, however, though, stores are not as lenient. She says Jernigan believes that this is because shoplifters have become so adept at stealing from self-checkout lanes that stores no longer want to take a gamble on whether a theft was accidental. They have lost all sympathy, and they're just taking a tell-it-to-the-judge approach, she adds. So I have personally seen this, and every time I've gone to the Walmart, they check every receipt as you're walking out. I've seen people stopped. I've seen people argue with the people that are checking receipts because they say that, and I've literally seen this exact scenario where what bothers me a little bit, though, and I even talked to somebody out in the parking lot after this altercation that they had, was there was an Asian gentleman checking receipts, and there was like 4 families, 3 like really well-to-do, nice-dressed families, a group of white family, and they're all chuckling, and they're all wearing, like REI clothes, and he just waves them through, like he was frustrated they were even like holding out their receipt, just go. And he's supposed to be checking every receipt, but of course goes, oh, go. And then an Asian guy walks up, and the Asian guy who's checking receipts stops him, and he has 2 items in his thing, and he sits there for like 5 minutes checking, and you have to wait and be the next person that does it. And he's looking it over, and he goes, man, there's only 2 items in my cart. He's like, he goes, I come in here every day. He goes, why'd you just let all of them go and you just checked me? And he ended up basically accusing the guy of being racist, but I'm like, basically saying that he's racist against his own people, but he would let the white people go, right? I ended up talking to him out in the parking lot. I ended up walking by, and the guy did let me go. He just said, oh, go by. And then the person behind me, which was not somebody of my color, he ended up checking. So that system is kind of flawed if they're giving them kind of I guess they have the power to just kind of wave people through. But I've also people seen where they have an item and it was something on the bottom rack, or they have something that they forgot. And I've done it. I have forgot to scan something. And then when they check your receipt, they check the barcode and they go, this isn't there. And then, of course, you feel like you're a thief. I have noticed that they have basically treated everyone like a thief, but they highly judge you on what you wear. You could walk in wearing a full suit and tie, and you could just walk out with a cart of stuff and they won't bother you. But if you are wearing a hoodie or something, they will follow you around. It doesn't matter what color you are either. It's anybody and everybody. If you are dressed just like a normal person, you are basically you're a thief. And this, what is bigger than Walmart and Target and all of these stores, is the fact that we are now treated like we are guilty until proven innocent. And you see this in almost all parts of our society. I don't know if this is how it is in Europe or in Australia, but this is how it's been here. Do you guys agree? Have you seen something like this? Have you been followed in a store when, you legitimately aren't doing anything wrong? Or have you made these same mistakes? Dex, I don't know if you've had, if they do the same thing in Georgia Walmarts and stores like that, but it gets frustrating, especially when you're not doing anything wrong and they treat you like you are.
Yeah. We have the checkouts or the receipt checkers in multiple stores, Costco being one of them, Sam's Club and Walmart. But I don't usually shop Walmart in the sense that I have to go in and stand in line. If I do my best to either have it delivered or have it brought to the curb, because I do not want to go through those self-checkouts, and nor am I going to wait in a long line for the one aisle where they actually check you out the old-fashioned way.
There are several people saying they don't even check receipts at our Walmart. So I have been to a couple, and it was like a pleasant experience. And I actually had like 3 employees say, "Hey, can I help you find what you need?" Instead of, my wife was in the aisle with the yarn, and the woman was there for like 6 minutes, and I know because I was out in the car with the kids, and she was in there for like 6 minutes. And she stood 3 minutes in front of the yarn, and one of the people, security guard, goes, she goes, "You don't have to hang out here." And she goes, "What? Like, you don't have to hang out here?" And she goes, yeah. Maybe move to the next aisle, keep going, keep shopping. And she's like, "What are you talking about? I'm trying to pick out yarn." But apparently she didn't think that she was buying yarn or something. I don't know what she thought. But it's like, instead of that, you get these Walmarts that are really nice in smaller towns, and it's like a little town kind of mentality where they're super nice, and they actually old school customer service, and they bring you, and instead of like pointing you across an entire warehouse saying it's over there somewhere, they actually walk you to the aisle and find it for you. What I've also noticed, though, is like now almost every store, especially with younger people, they immediately go to their device and will end up looking up a product that everybody should know where it's at if you work somewhere, and they'll find the aisle exact one, and it will be like right in front of them across the aisle, and they have to look it up on the computer. It's kind of like how people that work retail can't do simple math, like the change on something. They just have to put in the amount you hand them. Otherwise, it's like game over. They're like, "Whoa, you give me $10 and it's $8.42. I push 20. What do I do?" It's just it's getting so crazy. We're so dependent on technology and on computers. It's insane. And then Sam Bankman-Fried to be released on a record $250 million bond and placed under house arrest. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is set to be released on a $250 million bond and placed under house arrest at his parents' California home. Dex, can you believe he actually got a bond and released? And then $250 million is a lot of money, but not to somebody who has that many billions. Shouldn't they take that into account? It's like anybody can get out, and then once he's out, is he going to disappear, or Sam Bankman-Fried is then going to be Dan Skankman-Deed under the Witness Protection Program or something?
Well, it is the biggest for any of these type of cases, these fraud cases. I want to say others were in the single millions all the way down to $500,000 as far as bail. So 250 million is a kind of a record setting, at least for the term that they call it, white collar crime. So yeah, that on one hand, it actually is a significant amount. Actually, they say it's 25 times larger than what officials demanded from Bernie Madoff in 2009. So it's significantly more. He can't flee. He actually is restricted. He's going to have a monitor, and he's only allowed to be in 2 locations, one of them being a place in New York and another one being a place, I think his parents' place in California. So he's going to be monitored, and he's also not allowed to take out any lines of credit that are in excess of $1,000. So he can't create any financial obligations, as well as I'm sure there's a lot of other restrictions around this. So on one hand, it was pretty smart of him to hurry up and get the extradition going because they didn't give him bail or bond in the Bahamas. So he was able to actually get out by coming here. So coming here, then he can get his post bond. But here's the real question: how does he have 250 million to post bond? Now, technically, they're not asking for cash; they're doing the what is it, a surety bond or whatever it is, where you put down, sign. I think his parents are signing for it, and a couple other wealthy people are signing for it. But the fact that they're able to cover, that whether it's 25 million or I don't know if it's a 10% deposit, but the fact that the people close to him are able to do that is also, kind of suspect that there's that much money flowing around in from this guy. So, kind of interesting.
Yeah, you don't have that kind of money doing even what his parents are like lawyers, but still, like $250 million is, that's like, that's Kanye money or something. But one thing, and they had billions of dollars, but that was tied into these companies. How much did he actually have himself? He had quite a bit. I mean, he donated. This is $250 million. He donated over $30 million to the Democratic Party from his personal, from his personal pocket during the last in 2020. So I just wonder what was happening here. Another question, somebody said, how did they pay for it? That's a good question. But also, if he's going to be monitored under the house arrest, what does that even matter? I mean, EpiPen was in a prison, and he got moved. So I wonder if he knows anything, and he might. I could see the hashtag now that Sam SBF didn't SBF himself. And then gold at 4,000. Analysts share their 2023 outlook as inflation recession fears linger. So by the way, I probably talked about this a long time ago, but my dad, stepdad, was into gold, and he bought gold and silver coins, and he always had those like hard plastic rolls. And he actually, I remember back when he bought gold, it was like $270 or $300 an ounce or something. So it's crazy to me to think about how much it's gone up and how much it's gone up over time, and it's always gone up. It's had its ups and downs, but gold has been one of the most reliable things. It says gold prices could surge to $4,000 per ounce in 2023 as interest rate hikes and recession fears keep markets volatile, said Jurek Kleiner, Managing Director of Chief Investment Officer at Swiss Asia Capital. The price of the precious metal could reach between $2,500 and $4,000 sometime next year, Kleiner told CNBC's Street Signs Asia. It says there's a good chance the gold market sees a major move, he said, adding it's not going to just be 10 or 20%, but a move that will really make new highs. It is currently going close to 2,000 right now, so that would be a huge jump. It says Kleiner explained that many economies could face a little bit of a recession in the first quarter, which would lead to many central banks slowing their pace of interest rate hikes and make gold instantly more attractive. Not to mention if you're a prepper, a lot of preppers keep gold and metals and things like that. Again, this is something that has been age old. It's one of the most reliable things to have. But of course, a lot of preppers say that silver's a lot better because you can break it up into smaller denomination. If you have a gold coin, a single gold ounce, worth $2,000, how are you going to pay people with that? Are you going to cut little snippets off of it? Well, that's why a lot of people like silver, is because they can, obviously it's a lower denomination. It says since the 2000s, the average return on gold in any currency is somewhere between 8 and 10% a year. You haven't achieved that in the bond market. You have not achieved that in the equity market. It says Kiner also said that investors would look good with gold with inflation remaining high in many parts of the world. Gold is a very good inflation hedge, a great catch during stagflation and great add-on to a portfolio. So I don't know if it's going to hit 4,000 Dex. If it does, that would say something. But that's assuming everything goes. And I bet you would go back down after that too. It would probably, if it does hit something like that,
it's going to change with the economy.
That would be a disaster, I think. Wouldn't that say that we're in a disastrous economy if gold goes that high?
Yes, it would. And, it's going to, it's one of those things that goes up when everything else goes down. And so which is interesting because we're sort of in this weird market where things have gone down. And it has gone up, but it hasn't gone up a lot. It's always been hovering around that $1,800 level. I think it's 1,800 right now. One of the other interesting things, though, and we've talked about this before, is China buying so much gold. So when they asked Kleiner about like, hey, if they asked if supply is low due to high demand, he said there's always supply, just maybe not the price you want. But high prices are no match for buyers like Xi, who are paying a premium for the precious metal, he said. Earlier this month, Xi's central bank announced it had bought a 1.8 billion worth of gold to its reserves, bringing the total value of their reserves in gold to $112 billion. So just keep that in mind when you see these massive, purchases of gold, like with a country like theirs. There's always been a lot of talk about currency, value of currency, and whether or not it's gold backed, or even if it's not gold backed, just the fact that they're backing their own economy with a significant amount of gold should be a sign and something to consider. Especially somebody like Xi, who has put 112 billion into it and just keeps adding. And that 1.8 billion they bought, I think when we reported one of those quarters that they purchased, it was like 4 times the amount that would normally be purchased in that quarter by everyone, and it was just them.
Yeah, and that was a story that came out, and it was like, why are they stocking? This is the same point in just the last few months that they were stocking up wheat. The data came out that they have basically, held away 55% of the world's wheat. No, I'm sorry, 65% of the world's wheat, 55% of the world's corn, and they stopped selling their natural gas to Europe, and then they were buying gold like crazy. Why would they be doing that? Well, a lot of folks think that it's because they're preparing for sanctions that haven't happened yet. That if they take Taiwan, that we and other countries and NATO would do the same thing we did to Vlad, we would do to them if they take Taiwan. But it also could be because they are a lot of rumors about how they're doing gold-backed currency and they're going to take over the U.S. dollar. Nobody knows truly what is exactly going to happen, but we know that something big is going on, and Asia, again, is eating it up and grabbing all the gold they can. I don't know why. And then Facebook is riddled with ex-CIA agents, while many FBI agents work at Twitter. It says spooks infiltrate Silicon Valley. Facebook is riddled with ex-CIA agents, including President's briefer, who now runs harmful content team. So many ex-FBI work at Twitter, they have Slack channel, and Google is rife with ex-CIA. I mean, how do people not know this? And this is like Truth or like 101. The fact that people don't know about Mockingbird and all of these other things, which now have been talked about and are getting more mainstream, I don't understand how people don't know this stuff. I learned this back in like 2002 or 2003 after my eyes were opened because of the huge, double hitter in New York. In fact, a lot of people forget, the reason I'm here and the reason I think the way I do was I have to credit AJ. He had people on the street. A lot of people don't like him now, but he had people, grassroots campaigns that were handing out DVD discs that were on burnt discs, literal burnt discs with information about, 2001 in September. I took those movies home, and at the time, it just was like the perfect timing. I was in between jobs, and I literally had nothing to do. I put it in there, and I watched like 5 hours of movies from that. And those movies were really well put together, like Loose Change and the other one. It changed my life. It like just flipped me because I remember that event like it was yesterday. It does not seem like it's been 21 years since that happened, 22 years almost. But when you think about this, it's like a lot of us, over the years, everybody's in a different stage of kind of finding out. And I don't think I know everything. I know I don't. I've been learning something new every single day. I learn from my mods every day. I learn from Foogle fam members every day. I'm a normal person like you that just keeps asking questions. But as far as this goes, I don't know how in the last 20 years since that event, and that event has to do with all of this as well, how so much of this is like right in our face, but nobody really, it's like we just accept it. We accept it as how it is. It says former U.S. government intelligence agencies are now working from across Silicon Valley in senior roles dedicated to censoring misinformation. And that's what really pisses people off, is who decides what that is. And if you have things like fact checkers that are absolutely biased and then that aren't even doing facts, they're actually checking opinions, it doesn't make too much sense. It says a large number of ex-officers from the FBI, CIA, NSC, and State Department have taken positions at Facebook, Twitter, and the Oogs, right? The revelation comes amid fears the FBI operated control over Twitter censorship and the laptop story. Now, we showed you, I tweeted out. Got to follow me on Twitter. I tweeted out the FBI's response to that. It's pretty wild. I mean, they basically said, "Oh, well, we always do that." They basically said, like, "Oh, yeah, that's like regular. We're supposed to do that. That's part of our job. We're supposed to be getting rid of stuff and keeping in contact with the private sector." And everybody just kind of accepts it. And in fact, one side of the media said, "Oh, yeah, this is great. Oh, yeah, they're doing their job." Dex, did you see the FBI response that I tweeted? I don't know if we can. I could even.
Yeah. I tweeted it too back when it first came out.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. That's kind of crazy that they said that. It's interesting. You can go on like LinkedIn and search, do like an advanced search for people that currently work at one company but had worked at a previous company. And some people actually list their previous work when they work at the FBI. Like I just found it, just testing it. I just found the threat intelligence manager for Meta, which is also Facebook, who also worked for 13 years at the FBI and then spent the last 4 years is now at Facebook. So, some of this is even public. You can go find it. But of course, a lot of this has come out in some of these reveals that they're doing.
And they call them drops, which ironically got people knocked off of social media just a couple of years before that. Which I wonder what's going to happen about all of that, about what information there. I haven't heard anything about what they were going to do about the 17 letter people that got knocked off. All right, and then before we talk about federal drug agencies enough in 2022 to take every person in Americans' lives, over 370 million. Before we talk about that, I do want to remind you right now, there is a sale, and go over to marfooglenews.com/energy and you can save big bucks if you use our code. On top of that, these are solar generators. I don't even have to argue why. I think most people want a generator. There's really you don't have to sell people on a generator because everybody realizes their strengths, especially with, of course, the weather that we're going through right now. A lot of people are having their power flickering. to know that you have power when it all goes out, that your whole neighborhood goes down, and the fact that you're able to just plug in your stuff and keep going, that's huge. As far as the X2, I am waiting like everybody else. There is high demand and low supply of every one of the energy generators because these are the most coveted. They are some of the most sought after generators out there, and they use some of the best technology out there. They are an investment. They are the best out there. Again, so there is a waiting list on all of these. I'm on the list for the X2. When I get it, I will show you guys. I actually already have their Flex 1500. The Flex 1500 is their modular system, which actually stacks like Legos. This system's really awesome because it can be a portable or it can be a whole wall of batteries. You can actually connect up to 96 batteries on this one. And it can be modded. So you can actually add extra mods that go in the middle or sandwich in between the batteries that allow it to actually triple the input. So instead of 4 panels, you can actually do 12. It's really impressive when you can be able to charge that fast from the sun. So even if you had an hour of sun, or even if you have a couple hours of cloudy weather, you're still getting a lot of power when you do that. So really, really cool system. You don't have any gas involved. You don't have to buy gas. You have unlimited power as long as the sun keeps coming up. And of course, you don't have any sound. These are absolutely silent, which means you go stealth. You don't allow people from 3 blocks away to hear that you have power going. That is one of the biggest downsides of gas-powered generators. On top of that, gas-powered generators have the motors. In a dream world, though, I will not tell you, I wouldn't say sell your gas-powered generator to get one of these. I would have both. If in a dream world, you would have both, but both are expensive. So if you already have a gas-powered generator, this is definitely a good thing to have as well because they both have their different pros and cons. If you have a ton of gas and if you have a farm that you can store, 10,000 gallons of gas, that's great. But if you're in an apartment, you probably can't. Even if people in an apartment can put a panel up in their window and get sun. So that's what's so cool about this. If you had to bug in or bug out, all of these systems are portable. In fact, all of them. So the X2 is the bigger, all built-in one. There's an LT, the smaller one, which I'll show you in a video that's coming up. And then, of course, the X2 and then the Flex 1500, which is that one. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. You're helping our independent channel. Every time you purchase from this, you're getting a discount. You're paying less than retail, and you're helping our channel at the same time. It helps us pay the bills. Again, thank you for being patient through ads like this for affiliates. Again, we provide a free service, and we appreciate each and every one of you that does help us. More so than ever, though, if you do want to help us, go and share our content with somebody else. All right, and then Dex, we talked about this with Tommy, obviously, and Title 42 ended up getting somewhat... Do we even have an update on that, by the way? It's currently like holding. It's kind of in a temporary hold. But this might actually get a whole lot worse. This was what the drug agents with Title 42 and all of that in place, that's what they took in. I can only imagine how this would go up if that was not being done.
Well, imagine this is just what they caught, and we know that they only process and catch a small fraction of what comes across. So a lot more probably came across, as I'm guessing. So if we had enough to basically wipe out the entire population, how much, and that's just what they caught, like how much actually came across? Like this is such a huge issue in the sense that it's taking the lives of lots of people right now in America.
And we'll probably have Tommy and Wages on a future show to talk about this stuff. But it did say that they ended up seized 379 million potentially fatal doses of fentanyl in 2022. You know what's even crazier is this is coming. We know that some insane close to 100% number comes from China, and it's then funneled through. Then it's funneled through down through the south border, and then it comes in. I don't know how bad this stuff is in other countries. Like, I would love to know how this is affecting Europe, if it's affecting Europe at all. I would love to know how this affects Australia. Do you guys even have an issue? Because I think it's kind of interesting to think that we have an entire group of people here that you may not have in other places in the world. This is a different kind of thing. When you there's been heroin for a very long time. You've seen the people kind of passing out and dozing off and stuff like that. But this is on a whole nother level. This is like, however many hundreds of times stronger, much, much less needed to get to that same point. And they say that this isn't even the worst stuff out yet. The phytomethazine that Tommy was talking about, that is also going to be coming very soon. So look at how, if you go to any like metropolis area, you'll see how this has ravaged places. There's whole YouTube channels devoted to driving down like the Skid Rows and showing how bad it's gotten. I mean, frankly, through CV, it destroyed downtown Seattle, where I live. And it's like when you go through downtown Seattle, now the courthouse, which used to be a park by Pioneer Square, that entire park isn't like just a tent city. It is a tent city. It's literally, it's every block. There's tents, there's boarded up windows. All the businesses are gone. Everybody that was down there when CV hit, basically they just couldn't stay down there. We covered hundreds of stories of people basically leaving because the crime got so bad. Amazon was, I think they did partially leave, but Amazon couldn't even stay downtown Seattle because it was so bad. There's crime. There was, they took out the McDonald's that was there for decades and decades because it was so horribly violent down there. And it got worse and worse. When CV hit, it just destroyed everything. But you see it down there, the worst. It's insane how much this is affecting us. So I hope and I pray that everybody that is in recovery right now, and if you are one of the people that is on this, go over to Tommy's channel over on the Lifeboat. They talk about recovery. We understand normal people get hit by this stuff. So go over there and meet other people that are going through the same stuff that you are. And then the F-35 can eject its pilot automatically. This is pretty cool, considering if they were unconscious or if they were knocked out or something, it can essentially boot them out anyways. I'm assuming, again, too, that they're going to have AI play a part in future versions of this. It says the circumstances surrounding a mishap involving a Lockheed Martin-owned F-35B Joint Strike Fighter last week, in which a still unnamed U.S. Air Force pilot at the controls at the time was able to safely eject and suffered no serious injuries, remain under investigations. However, the incident, dramatic video footage of what was captured at the time, makes it worthwhile to discuss an obscure feature on the aircraft, an auto-eject system that can engage the jet's Martin Baker US-16E ejection seat without direction under any particular circumstances. It says the F-35 was conducting a test flight ahead of its formal delivery when the incident happened. Now, this video, we had this on our website. The plane, it's like a Harrier, that's what I've always called it. But one of the jets that can turn its jets downwards and hover and then come down and take off. And I don't know if they can land vertically, take off and land vertically. And it goes down and it bounces just barely. And then the nose tips forward. And then you see it kind of doing this like Moe, Curly, and Three Stooges thing spinning around. And then the pilot actually waited until it was flat and then popped out. Dex, actually, it's not claiming that one was auto, was it? Because that would make sense. Right when it went flat, it happened.
The purpose of this is of this auto ejection is to actually do it at a safe time. In other words, if the plane was upside down or tumbling over, that wouldn't be the right time. That would be the unsafe time. And we had speculated that, a lot of times this plane was at an angle, and if he had ejected, he wouldn't have had a lot of room for his chute to have opened. He would have probably been shot across a football field and tumbling across the ground, as opposed to being shot straight up in the air, which would give his chute enough time to open and hopefully not hurt him when he lands on the ground. And that's exactly what happened. When the plane got flat, he ejected. Now, what we don't know, the reason they're bringing this up is because it's interesting at the fact that this is the first and only plane that does this. They did ask, but they've been obviously referred to talk to the Air Force, which is not going to tell you anything. And so they don't actually know if that's the case in this incident, but it was just to bring to light this conversation about this auto eject capability, especially given the dramatic footage we got to see. It does, it is interesting to think about, but we don't know if that's exactly what happened or if he actually chose to eject at that moment on his own.
Yeah, and if it would have done it even at that angle, it probably, I don't know what degree that would be at, but it could have killed him. So I wonder, because go watch that video and be a judge for yourself. When you see it, right when the wheels touch, it goes and shoots him back out. So I just wonder if that was the computer doing it, and it knew it had the gyroscope, and it goes, oh, we're at the right level, boom, and hit him out, since it had already knew that he crashed. And then Japan. Watch Japan is something I will say, because watch. At some point, mark my words, you're going to end up going, okay, that's why. I watch Japan because someone I trust and somebody who I do believe is in the know said that Japan is going to be a huge part of the next world conflict. And it's actually very simple to see. There's stuff that is very public that you could easily see why. They are now changing everything about their constitution to be an offensive country. In fact, before I said that was before all of the constitution, all of these things that went through, all of these votes were done. And that was before Shinzo Abe was taken out. In fact, it was about a week before that where he was taken out with a homemade shoddy, where I first really found out about that. And basically, they went from very bottom of a defense budget. Now they're in the top 5, as far as they just all of a sudden said, no, we're not going to be a defense-only country anymore. We're going to be an offensive. We'll do preemptive strikes if we need to. And, of course, now it says that Japan reverses nuclear phase-out plan adopted after Fukushima, which, again, goes into the whole nuclear thing that they're doing right now. They're reversing it, and they're going to amp it up. It says Japan has adopted a new policy promoting greater use of nuclear energy to ensure stable power supply amid global fuel shortages and reduce carbon emissions, in a major reversal of its phase-out plan following the Fukushima crisis, which Fukushima crisis was due to the 2011 subduction zone earthquake that happened that caused a tsunami and absolutely, horrified the world. And it says Japan on Thursday adopted a new policy promoting greater use of nuclear energy to ensure a stable power supply. And it said the new policy says Japan must maximize the use of existing nuclear reactors by restarting as many of them as possible and prolonging the operating life of old reactors beyond their 60-year limit, and by developing next-generation reactors to replace them. So, Dex, this is like a 180. They were going to phase out stuff. They were adamant, and so many officials said that they wanted to get rid of it, and it was just so much of a disaster. And now they're literally just like turning on a dime. Do you think that's related?
Maybe they're paying attention to what's happening around the rest of the world and seeing, just how expensive energy costs went up when they started turning off those reactors. So, this is what they saw in Europe, and now look at what they're having to deal with. And some over there are even suggesting that they go back to using nuclear. So it may be some foresight on their part to say, hey, maybe we're not ready to make this switch just yet. But yes, you're right. It is a big flip, because they were heading down a path of saying, no, we're not going to use this, especially after that tragic event happened. And then, and start to phase it out completely.
Well, it's something is definitely going on with that. And then we'll talk about that here in a second as well. We'll talk about Taiwan scrambles jets as China flies dozens of aircraft into the air defense zone. But first, I do want to catch up. Thank you so much, Heath Spear, for being the first one out of the gate. Thank you for your super chat from Australia. We have Next Exit says, remember my dream about Super 8s 2023? It's coming. Don't feel good about it, but be prepared in spirit. Next Exit. Absolutely crazy stuff. And then Jaws Wolf, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Thanks for the cup of coffee. And then so much for melting polar ice. It's thickening and growing back. This wouldn't happen if 2 was warming the planet. Bible Talk 777. There was something else. I got to share you this article that I read, that I found that definitely agrees with you. Kay Holmes, Marfoogle News, only news I use. Happy holidays. Stay warm, y'all. Thank you, Kay Holmes. I appreciate that. Nice to see you. It's been a minute. And then 5150 Preppers is a.k.a. Dana Grams, and I hope I'm saying that right. Dana Grammas. Put you on my hubby shop YouTube. Love all. Well, thank you so much, and thank you. And by the way, thank you guys, everybody that shared our stuff out today. I appreciate you. I maybe quit, but I watch and share with loves. I may be quiet. Okay. Mystery School, thank you so much. Says, I may be quiet, but I watch and share with loves. Well, thank you so much. And make sure to press his likes as well. Adam Dex, referring to your comment that Jeffrey EpiPen got done in jail, I think he is still alive. Someone with a high profile like his would have a funeral. I can't remember him being laid to rest. Just food for thought. I can't either, actually, but there's something. No, I don't know. There might have been one, but here's the thing. Dex, do you remember him actually having a funeral? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be like the Queen's funeral or something. It wouldn't be something where everybody comes and cries. It'd probably be, where people came to, to his house and try to wipe their name off of his books. One thing that really gets me about him is...
I thought they had one.
Maybe they did. Either way, I bet they would. Even if he is still alive, they would have one of those, because what was weird is when that was going on, there was Reddit chains out there, and supposedly there was this Reddit about a guy that said that, there was a vehicle that came into the thing that same morning, and that one of the log books was like blank, or it was left blank and they didn't log it. And the thing is he was on a watch. They took him off that for like, I don't know, a couple hours or something, and then all of a sudden he's goners. And then the pictures of him going out, I mean, obviously, if you are able to get into that kind of system, wipe the cameras. They lost the security footage. When do they lose security footage in a jail? Think about that. I mean, really think about it. In a New York jail, they lost all of the security footage that would be prudent to where it all happened and went down. And then it came out later that they lost the footage on the hallway. Like, yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the only reason I think that he could still be alive is because he might have had some sort of kill switch. If he's got that much dirt on so many people, if he does perish, he could have it set up to automatically release all of that information. And if all that information goes out, if they, take him out, I mean, they did say that he extorted the rich people because they did go to his island and do nasty, nasty stuff. So I think that he's on witness protection somewhere, but that's just my personal opinion with my hat on. Zen1AZ, thank you so much. As much love. Much love, Marf, Dex, and Mods and Foogle fam. Well, thank you, Zen1AZ, and thank you for being here almost every night. And then Taiwan scrambles jets as China flies dozens of aircraft into the air defense zone. We cover all of these as they are preparing a huge, massive drill with Russia and China in the South China Sea. We have this frozen air coming from Siberia. Our whole country is going through a cold disaster. The Navy is all over the place. We've deployed all over the world. China has been doing these kind of incursions, and they've been practicing for Taiwan pretty much every day. Dex, didn't we read just a crazy number the other day of how many active military have gone in? I think it was over 300 aircraft just this month in the first 20 days. That was as of like 2 days ago. 300
Correct.
Different aircraft have gone in there.
Yes, that's correct. And so, it just keeps happening. And here we are, almost at first when we saw this, we like, yeah, is this 2 days ago news? No, it's happened again. And so it happens so often. A lot of times you get confused. You think, we just reported this. No. we keep reporting it because it keeps happening over and over again. So, yeah, this is another large sortie, 21 aircraft. I think 39 in total went in, and again, this is it's a stress. They stress them. They being Xi stresses them being Taiwan by doing this, and it's a does multiple things. It stresses the military, it causes them to react, and then it gives them intel as to how they react based on the different types of maneuvers that are being done, so they can pre-plan on what they're going to do when it's the real deal.
And there's another story that's attached. This isn't the same story, but it says U.S. military will defend Taiwan if it comes to that, President JB says. He has gone back and forth so many times that his Secret Service is looking like they're playing Red Rover. They're like, oh, no, wrong way. You're heading towards the John. Whoa. That's the maid's room. Whoa, what are you doing with the wigs? And then before we talk about Xi Jinping demanded written explanation from Putin on how he planned to end the conflict in UKR, I think this is a little bit of, you know what I'm saying? Before we do, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. They now have the new micro EMP shield. If you guys have not seen that yet, this is the micro. If you have had the bigger one already, this is the micro. This is tiny. This is smaller than my hand. Again, very small. It can fit on ATVs and four-wheelers and things like that. That is really, really cool. It's the same protection, the same technology. They have just now been able to fit it into a very, very small package. So again, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. That also opens windows for other devices. Again, make sure to go check it out. They can protect your car, your truck, your house, your generators. You can get one for the Flex 1500. In fact, I showed that as well. This is the normal size. Just the half of this is the normal size of an EMP shield. This is for the Flex. This plugs into the out. And there's actually one that plugs into the AC as well. Or the DC. So that is the normal size. You can get ones for pretty much anything you want to keep running through an EMP. It grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. This is the same company that was quietly called on by T-Man and the White House in 2018 when the DHS did their EMP resilience report with the EMP task force. Now EMP Shield has worked for agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course now the DEMSO team helping protect the entire Texas grid. So they are, again, a really, really great product. It's Keystone military tested. They are basically, they're making sure to protect themselves. Nobody's going to protect us. So if you want to protect your own vehicles, if you work very far from home and you want to be able to get home that 10 miles to your house, or if you want to be able to bug out without your car being totally fried, then I would highly recommend going and looking at one of these. You can do the car version in about 15 minutes, car or truck. Those ones are easy to do. The house one, you have to have a licensed electrician put it in. But other than that, most of them you can do yourself. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to go use that code. You'll get $50 off when you use that link. That's, again, $50 off per device. And that means if you're outfitting all of your cars, you'll get a discount and you'll be helping independent media. We are run by ourselves. We do not have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have the Foogle fam. So thank you, everybody, for not only going through our affiliates and being patient through them, but also by sharing out our stuff and getting us out to people. 97% of how we get new people here is you. There's no algorithmic help here. So thank you, everybody, for sharing us out. It does help to like as well. And then China's Xi Jinping demanded written explanation from Vlad how he planned to end the conflict in UKR. Dax, I personally think that this is like they're playing a game here with that Xi is trying to make the world think like, oh, well, I'm quietly scolding him. I really don't like it. But meanwhile, we know that he is helping and they're doing drills together. It's like, come on. Does he really care? Maybe he's like, how fast can you get this done? I want a written, this is like a teenager asking their parents for a loan. Like, well, write me out a payback plan. Let's see it in writing. Like, what are you going to do? What is your plan here? Maybe it's because he's going to loan him a lot of money and a lot of weapons. Like, how soon can you get this done, son? Dex, what do you think?
Well, none of this is official. This is coming from a Telegram channel, which allegedly has links to the Kremlin and to Putin's bodyguards. And they're basically making the claim that Dmitry Medvedev was dispatched to actually deliver the response to Xi. So, it's all sus, and it's all just alleged claims. But, it did get published. It did come out. It was something to be talked about, I guess, or at least they wanted it to be talked about. I agree. It's kind of crazy to think that this is the path they're going down, whether it's really legit or whether if it is legit, is it just, Xi trying to, make a name for himself in this conflict?
Either way, they're definitely involved in the background. The big drills that they're doing right now, we're going to have updates on that very soon as well. And then Germany arrests intelligence agent accused of sharing secrets with Russia. It says that Germany arrested a foreign intelligence service agent on Wednesday on suspicion of sharing state secrets with Vlad. It said raiding his home and workplace as well as that of another person. It says the accused is suspected of state treason, which you don't want to be accused of that. It says the federal prosecutor said in a statement, in 2022, he shared information that he came by in the course of his work with a Russian intelligence agency. The content is considered a state secret. The Federal Intelligence Service, BND, had started its own internal investigation as soon as it became aware of the possibility of treason within its own ranks. The BND head, Bruno Kahl, said, when these suspicions hardened up, it called in federal prosecutors. Discretion was key going forward, and it said as any detail of the investigation that was made public could give the opponent an advantage of its intent to harm Germany. It says, with Russia, we are dealing with an actor where we must reckon with its ruthlessness and willingness to be violent. What in the world is going on here, Dex? I wonder if Germany and them are something's brewing between the two of them. Why would they be what are they doing with Germany now? I just wonder if this is part of the later plan that we don't know about.
Well, let's not forget the pipeline that nobody talks about anymore. That was between Vlad and Germany. And then it was allegedly, but it's actually come out that they've confirmed that it was some form of sabotage. But after that, there's no more talk of it. Of course, you would think if it was Vlad that did it, that would the evidence would have been paraded up and down the street. They would have news everywhere. So the fact that they're not talking about it makes me believe it wasn't him and it was someone else. But the ties there between these two countries have been not, I won't say strong, but they've been significant in the sense that, between the oil pipeline and other stuff, they've always had some sort of working relationship, or at least Germany was seen as the inroads into the EU or into Europe. So to see that there's this form of treason and or espionage going on and it's being captured is not unfathomable by any means, and definitely something that's piquing our interest, so to speak.
And then, Dex, do you want to go over the Arctic and what they're doing there?
Certainly. So we've covered the Arctic region and Vlad's investment there, and it seems like we've probably talked about it once every 3 months, 4 months type time period, because they keep doing more work. They keep expanding it. And that's exactly what they're talking about here. So they're continuing to expand the bases that are in the Arctic region. We know specifically that they look at that region, especially as things are changing and waterways are opening up in the northern area to get from the northern area of Russia around to, say, Xi's country with equipment via shipping. So that's a significant area in which that they're investing. But then also the fact that anything they're doing in the Arctic is just one step closer to the U.S. or to the West. They're obviously their adversary. So we have to pay attention to it. We do pay attention to it. And they have been continuing to expand the investment that they're making here, whether it's, from a research perspective or more specifically a military perspective, and putting in equipment and advancing the bases that they've built in the Arctic regions.
And it said that NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also told CNN in an exclusive interview on Friday that there is now a significant Russian military buildup in the high north, with recent tensions causing the alliance to double its presence in the response. It said the findings also came as a senior Western intelligence official told CNN Russia has withdrawn as much as 3/4 of its land forces from the high north region near the Arctic, sending them to bolster its faltering of its neighbor UKR. Now that, again, is from Western intelligence. We don't know if that's exactly true. What they're saying is that they were building up this massive base up there, and they're actually pulling people back because they need them in UKR. I don't know if that's absolutely true, but I wonder what the actual the Arctic base is for. Dex is now. I'll actually ask the chat here too. Chat, can you explain to others and to myself what is the geographical strategy behind taking the Arctic? I know that it's a very good place to take as far as I guess that area they can get. It's another waterway. They've been clearing waterways from place to place. Can you explain to me, would that come into play with WW3? Would the Arctic be a big part of a WW3? What do you guys think? Would that be somewhere why would they want to go up in that cold? Or do you have other theories of why they are in the Arctic? Is there something that you think is up there that they're doing that we don't know about, that's not related to the conflict? That I would love for you guys. Natural gold mine, says Fondage. Rare earth minerals, went by too fast. Kari Gleason says Greenland released the Nephilim. Oh, like a meteor's coming or something else. The Change says it's Vlad Didad. Lisa, well, and it's you've got them in the Arctic, and then we get this crazy cold weather here, and then they remove everybody. Let's see here. Hollow Earth entrance. Ooh, Curb Creeper. Let's see here. Oil, and it's about oil and gas. Lisa Douglas. Preston Martin, CHS Tennessee. Oil or minerals, ? Tactical advantage. Thomas Schutman, that's what I have heard. If they were to go to conflict, they could use the different waterways if they controlled it, and they would be opening new trade routes between it. Russia found rivers and life under the ice. Ooh. Strategic control of shipping and staging point into Nordic countries and Canada. Paladin 2004. That was Vic that said that. Paladin, what's going on? CI is pushing anti-Russia propaganda big time on all media channels. And I did take that into account. CNN always has the exclusives, right? I usually point that out. I didn't this time, but CNN always has a certain type of information coming out. You always want to take everything with a grain of salt. I just posted, too, on Twitter. I said, basically a meme that said, it says, if it's on CNN, and then I posted a meme that says, I'm going the opposite way. I'm believing the opposite of what they're saying. But, Fox is no better. All of these news agencies, Fox, we feel like they're, you feel like if it's the truth you believe, then you feel like they're being truthful. But they're just as paid and bought as all of the other medias. Let's see here. Vlad built a large deepwater port way up north. They want Northwest Passage. I could believe that. Or the other day that most meteors land in Antarctica. Mining meteors, rare metals. Rusty Keys said they read an article saying that a lot of the meteors land in Antarctica. That's very interesting. I would love to, please send that to me if you can. DM me out on Twitter or send it to adam@marfooglenews.com. Put the subject as meteors in Antarctica. And then Russians buy boots and body armor for the troops as the Kremlin tries to fix the campaign's problems. So, Dex, this actually goes into, this is kind of the thing that he admitted. He admitted that they made some mistakes and they signed a blank check. But they're basically buying the gear for a whole lot more troops. Obviously, this goes hand in hand with 350,000 more people, right?
Right. Well, in this case, I think what we're seeing is they're reporting, the West is reporting that the citizens are crowdfunding to equip the soldiers. And what we heard yesterday was Putin saying, hey, we're going to write a blank check because we want to make sure that they have everything they need, and we're going to make sure that we win, and we're going to grow and have as many resources as possible to be successful and win, no matter what. So I think this story sort of comes out in the face of what he just said and says, oh, by the way, they literally are running crowdfunding campaigns so they can get boots and armor for these soldiers. So it's kind of, again, this falls in the Ganda camp. Who knows? It's probably true. I'm sure there's somebody over there raising something. It could be a huge thing that they're all doing, or it could just be one little offshoot that did it, and now they're making a big story out of it. We'll never really know. But it is kind of ironic that this is the story that comes out the day after he says, hey, we're going to spend all the money we need to make sure everybody's equipped and has what they want.
Well, and you could look at it two different ways. You could look at it as in like they're crowdfunding because they know that they're going to be sending their young and their people over there, and regardless if they support it, they want those guys to come home, right? That's their youth, that's their country, that's their people, right? I mean, people always say, evil, 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 but are the Russian people evil, or is it the government? Are the Chinese people evil, or is it the government? It's usually the latter, right? But they want their people to come home. Or you could look at it as the Russian people support it so much that they're even trying to add to it. I'm sure that they could spin it either way, that people are so pumped about WW3, they're trying to get it going and they're trying to help fund it. You could take it multiple ways there. Or you could take it as that they're not doing it at all and it's totally fake. But I would say this, I mean, all the people of the world, we're the people of the world. It's not those people that are in the poorest countries in Russia. Do you think that they didn't do anything wrong to us? It's the way of life. It's the government. It's the way that things work there.
And if I recall, we send stuff to our own troops, we as in the citizens and our family members. We send stuff too.
All the time.
If they're in short supply of things, we do it all the time. Not just candy bars and magazines. Sometimes we send over, gear, not gear that you couldn't get, but gear that you can get that would be useful for them that's not being supplied by our own military.
Heck, we covered that story where there was a massive crowdfunding here to send those new body armor plates. The new, what are those called? They're like a... They are like what did they call that? Fish scales. They're like the fish scale armor, the new one that's really, really good. There were crowd funds to buy those for when we were in the Middle E. They were trying to get those because they were better at defense against all sorts of stuff. And I think they were good against knives and things as well. If you guys know what, not Kevlar, well, they are dragon skin. Thank you. Vigor92 got it. If you look up dragon skin, it's a crazy... I don't know if they're better. I'm not an expert on that. That's just what I heard, is that they were trying to get them the better ones. Yes, Justin McCormick, and Off Time, you are right. That's what I was thinking about. They did a crowdfund for that. So I could see that happening. And then Russia's unfortunate aircraft carrier has caught fire again. Kathy Piana, I saw your question there. We are now finally to it. Real quick, though, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. If you don't have long-term survival food, you can get a 25-year shelf life supply of it over at marfooglenews.com/prep. Now, again, they sell packages anywhere from a single MRE to a 3-month package, and you can even go bulk and get more. But they have all sorts of different packages. You can get a 2-week supply, a month supply, a 3-month supply, and all of them are on sale when you use this code. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get 3 months at $200 off at the lowest price it's been since 2019. Great part about this is that it lasts 25 years. It is also extremely affordable. Some of their competitors are up in the $2,000 range for the same 3-month supply. Again, I would say that you should diversify on all sorts of different food and water as far as food goes. There's all sorts of different brands. This is a really great affordable one if you want a lot of bulk in one place. marfooglenews.com/prep. They also have the Alexa Pure Pro there. I would definitely click the tab at the top and see what else they have. They have iodine tablets if you're at all worried about any kind of radiation sickness. They also have battery packs. They also have emergency radios and survival books, because if SHTF does happen, I can almost guarantee you're not going to have Google or DuckDuckGo to look up what berries to eat. All right, and then the Kuznetsov, I think I said that right, has caught fire, but not just caught fire, it's caught fire again in dry dock. So this is not out, this is not in a conflict, this is not at war, this is in dry dock. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this might have been a sabotage. Why? Well, we've seen multiple of these events happen, and you're thinking, okay, these are the militaries of our world. Almost every military, doesn't matter who they are pretty damn organized. Not only are they organized, they're very by the book. I mean, they're disciplined, whatever else. So you very rarely have, just a ton of accidents happening. And if they are accidents, it's not like they're testing, they're not testing out grenades on the deck of the boat, right? I could see how fires could go, but why are they all happening in dry dock? Specifically, going back to Chinese amphibious assault carrier. Caught fire, stayed on fire for 5 days without an accelerant. People question, whoa, is this some sort of space weapon that's like heating it up like a magnifier glass on the thing, like, heating the damn thing up? It caught fire for 5 days straight. Just 3 months later, the exact same kind of carrier, an assault carrier, an amphibious assault carrier, it's a very special kind with the back end that can drop boats out the back of it, on the U.S. side ended up catching fire and staying on fire for 5 days. What are the odds of that? That's pretty astronomical. But then the Iran had their carrier catch fire, one of their big boats catch fire. You're seeing these kind of fires, and I just wonder if there's intelligence that goes out, something's about to happen, and we on the civilian side see these kind of events and just think, oh, it's a fire. But what if it's a sabotage straight out of a Bond movie where somebody went and did this, and that's because they were about to use it for something evil? We will never know. But it says a fire broke out today on board, and especially looking at what's going on, the drills that are possibly happening or that are happening, and the possible events that may happen, it would be in somebody's interest, if they did know that they planned on doing something, to take out one of their only carrier. It says a fire broke out today on board the Russian Navy's sole aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov, which has been undergoing a major overhaul in the country's northeastern Murmansk region for more than 4 years, and which just moved into a new and improvised dry dock earlier this year. This is not the first incident of its kind on the flat top in the course of this work. It says with another blaze having broken out on the ship in 2019. The vessel had also suffered another fire while anchored off Turkey in 2009, which led to the death of a member of a crew. Since its overhaul began in 2017, a litany of other issues has befallen the carrier. Most dramatically, a huge floating dry dock suddenly sank underneath the ship in 2018. Its history before then was hardly better, with the ship being so prone to breakdowns that an ocean-going tug was always assigned to accompany it during deployments. Because they just don't know how to do anything right? We need to underestimate them as much as possible. But who knows? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this was some sort of sabotage by somebody. We don't know who. That's just my opinion on it. It says today, Andrei Mishnikov, the head of the press service of JZC Saludoshka, said a shipyard responsible for refitting and repairing Russian naval vessels confirmed the presence of local smoke on the carrier today. That local smoke was a lot of local smoke. It was, you can't really see it in this picture because pretty much the whole thing was steam in there. And it says on December 22nd, in one of the premises of the Tavkar, Admiral of the Fleet of the Soviet Union Kuznetsov, local smoke occurred. The statement explained it was promptly eliminated by the emergency party of the ship and employees of special services. No damage was done to the ship. There were no casualties as a result. And it says the reasons for the incident will be established as a result of the audit. So we don't know exactly what happened here, but I can tell you if it is somebody, if it is the U.S. or if it's somebody else that did this and they know it or they find out about it, not going to be good. There's probably going to be a tit for tat. And I don't know, just to guess, somewhere in the next week, another carrier, probably whoever did this, or some Navy boat is going to have a mysterious fire. Just a guess. Because they usually respond in kind. I think it's pretty hard to say that it wasn't China going and attacking the same kind of thing back then, back when we see 5 days on fire, the Chinese assault carrier on fire, and then 3 months later, ours catches fire. And then what did they do? Well, the public is asking questions. They're like, oh, well, this guy did it. It was a young soldier. He's our scapegoat. He's guilty. He did it. He was pissed off at the Navy, and he was mad. Well, guess what? We followed that story all the way to his trial, and he was let off the hook. There was no evidence to say that he did it, or there wasn't enough. So we're like, huh. So how did it catch fire with no accelerants for 5 days in dock? It's not like there's a bunch of frilly curtains that can catch fire on it. It's a steel ship. And if something major didn't blow up, what the hell happened? I think that was a tit for tat. Is this a tit for tat? Was there something in the last week? Will there be something in the next week? Was this done to stop them from using this in an event that we don't even know about yet? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate you commenting. Dex, did you have an opinion on it as far as what do you think it might be?
Well, at this point, it could be just about anything. We'll have to see how it plays out. It's kind of humorous in one hand that it's their sole. It's the only aircraft, and I know it's their only one because we've talked about they only have one, and they're in this major conflict, and the only one they have is in dry dock, and so but G on the other hand is pumping these things out left and right. So obviously there's a big difference in the amount of spending between those two countries, but yeah. The aircraft carrier situation just doesn't seem to be a strong suit of Vlad.
No, it doesn't. And then Russia is likely to launch large-scale missile attack on UKR on the 22nd or 23rd of December. Just to remind you, today is the 22nd. We have not heard of a massive attack today. So this would mean today or tomorrow. Hence the title of this show. I don't know why I'm like it's a magic act or something. Today. All right, I should have added the echo. Today or tomorrow. Tomorrow. Sorry, I was really late on the echo. It's supposed to be attached to it, so unfortunately, if something does happen, a large scale, and they just got all their money, so it's like, are we going to send more money after this? Usually after one of these, it pushes for about a week or 2 weeks, and then we send more money, more gear, more everything. We are already sending in the Patriot system. I will expect many large-scale attacks in the next 3 months. Why? Well, we're sending the Patriot missile system in there, and it takes months to train on. If they start any sooner than that, then Vlad and everybody else will know that U.S. troops are essentially running the gear, or NATO troops are running those Patriot systems to knock down Russian aircraft and Russian missiles. So if they were to attack, just from a simple strategic, being a complete idiot on this note, they would attack in the next 3 months before they have the Patriot system. But again, we just covered something that was most likely Ganda that said, oh, well, we think they only have enough missiles for 2 or 3 attacks at most. And then they're just going to give up. It's not like they're going to, like maybe see if they can produce more missiles or, I don't know, keep producing them the entire time or get them from an ally. Which again, if they just keep coming out with missiles and they say, oh, well, they should have been out by now, it makes you wonder, oh, well, maybe they're getting them from their ally. But you're not going to suspect China because China's like, getting on them hard, like, hey, I want you to write me 1,000, I will end this war in UKR on the chalkboards from Xi. He's really mad at Vlad right now. He wants this thing to end. Actually, he just wants to know how, right? It says Russia is likely to launch another large-scale missile attack on UKR on the 22nd or 23rd of December, which it's already the 23rd. This might actually happen sometime while we're sleeping here. If it does happen, it would happen soon. Dex, what do you think about this? This is coming from UKR's defense intelligence.
Well, they're very specific. They're saying at least 67 cruise missiles are going to be used. They're very specific about the number of Iskanders and the aircrafts like the Tu-95s, 8 to 14 of them, and the Caliber cruise missiles and the T-22, 3 of those. So they've got like their intelligence is, I don't know, it's amazing because it's coming up telling us exactly how many they're going to use, what it's going to be. It's going to be these aircraft. It's going to be these, missile launchers, et cetera. So, this is, but it's coming from UKR. So take it with a grain of salt, just like any type of information that comes out of the middle of a conflict.
Itchy Triggerfinger says, what did they say? They say, well, I'm done with this conflict. Can I get my money back? Well, not near the Black Sea or the north of UKR, yes. Sam Thomas, fear not. I hope nobody is in fear here. If you watch my show, that should not be a thing. Ilea says, Itchy Triggerfinger 76, right? Yeah, let's get our money back. Can I make a return, please? I have one very stinky green long sleeve sweater here and a whole set of green shirts. Tighten arms, loose in the waist. And then Russian private military company might simulate shelling of Belarus by UKR National Resistance Center. I wonder why they would be doing that, Dex. Why do you think that they would be simulating attacking Belarus? I wonder if they
draw them in. And this is definitely this is in and of itself is the the type of information that you would hear before an event that would happen like that, of the fantastic Freddy type. But yeah, they're saying that these mercenaries have, which are a subgroup of the Wagner Group, have arrived at the northern border, and now they're suggesting that they're going to simulate the shelling. But I wonder if it's not really a simulation as much as it may be, they're suggesting that they may actually do it and then point the finger at UKR. And especially since Vlad just spent his time meeting with Lukashenko, went over there, a big deal, big trip. And, obviously a lot of people are thinking that there's the next phase of the military actions are going to include Belarus because of that meeting.
Celtic Warrior made a great comment, says, actually, Marf, I'll say this, that there's a lot of stuff that can actually burn really good on a ship. I'm not an expert, so you're probably right. So, well, would it burn without accelerant? I guess I don't know enough about it, so thank you for the correction. And Virginia Olson, Cheryl sending love. Somebody asked what's in the background. It's all pretty much Legos and Star Wars. It's all the UCS Lego sets from the last 10 years, and then a little, can't really see it because it's all blurry, but I'll show it during the shoutro. Electrical Fire says Be Real Beast. No, that makes sense. But if you see, go back to those two events, there's not really much of an explanation for both of those. And they were both very suspicious. Both burnt for way longer, and they had plenty of firefighters, everything else. Shannon L., Just Ruth, Ron Sipple says, I'm making baked bread, butternut squash, potatoes, and stuffing. Ron Sipple, artist. That is very awesome. From Adam, host. Old Mechanic, pound cake is funnier. Well, thank you. I love pound cake. No way. Fondage, it's real. Blaine Brown, I say it's sabotaged by extraterrestrial forces. Who knows what's going on to happen before it happens? Only God. And then Paul Stasny, steel will burn for 5 days when it's hit by lightning bolt 12 million degrees. See, that's what I'm thinking. Jody, you know what's happening. Let's hear Zen1 AZ and Guacaholic. Tina Viquin says Russia crushed Alexander the Great. Give it up. Responsibility matters for all lives. Is tomorrow full moon, says Elihole. Elihole Chene. I think I said that right. And Vicky Brook says thank you, Jen Boyles. Ron Sipple says thanks, Marf. Jay Pole. Carrot cake is best. Oh, I don't want to. This fight is something I don't want in my chat. No carrot cake. No cake fights. There is no best. It's perspective. I've had this fight before. It's like, you don't talk politics, religion, cake. Just don't go there. And the McDonald's new fully automated restaurant completely run by machines leaves internet divided. Shouldn't really be divided. They shouldn't be running any restaurant with only machines. Again, we've covered a lot of these, and it's becoming more common. But what people don't really, get, or a lot of people just don't care because it's not their job. The better that this gets, the more it's going to move out of, say, flipping burgers to doing code and taking your job. It says no more attitude at the counter. McDonald's new fully automated restaurant, which is completely run by machines, leaves internet divided. But do you think it's a good idea? Now, I will admit, I don't eat McDonald's much anymore, but I used to because cheap food is a lot more easily attainable, especially when you're broke, than healthy food. Bad, horrible food for you is much more attainable than healthy food. McDonald's has opened up a fully automated restaurant in Texas, which is completely run by machines, so you don't have to speak to anyone, and has left people on the internet divided. It says the brand new eatery, located just outside Fort Worth, uses advanced technologies so the customers can order their food and receive their meal without having to interact with any humans. Haha, so awesome. And while some people are excited about the idea, others find it a little creepy. I'd like to do a little poll. Do you find this awesome? Now, I know almost every one of you have gotten numerous mistakes on your order at a McDonald's, and a lot of them are just horrible about just forgetting half of the stuff. If it's a machine, you're probably going to get your order right, and it will probably be exactly the same every time. Instead of getting some dried, 2-hour-old buns, you're probably going to get a perfect meal every single time. And you're not going to get somebody who, gives you lip or messes with you through the drive-thru and says, you want, yeah, can I get you what? True story. But at what cost? Would you guys, do you guys like the idea of restaurants, fast food restaurants, being run by machines completely? Yes or no? Just a simple yes or no. Kathy Paina, mahalo, Adam. What is going on? I did see your question earlier. I hope you got that. As far as the, or spits on your food. Yeah, robot won't spit on your food. Who is cooking the food? The robots are cooking your food. Everything is done by machines. Dex.
Well, I'd kind of ask this question because when you think about evolution, like if you were to rewind and say, okay, well, we don't like Coca-Cola vending machines. We would prefer to have the soda jerk that we have to walk into the drugstore and find the guy at the counter and then, pay the money and wait for him to actually pull the levers and make our Coke versus, you pop or swipe a card on the machine and push a button and you get the Coca-Cola. I'm not that I'm a big fan of drinking Coca-Cola. I'm not. But, I sort of look at these different types of improvements in evolution. And yes, they all replace a job because of automation. But would we go back and undo all of the things that this has happened in the past? And are we just feeling the pain of this at the moment because it is the current disruptor or the current thing that is being automated that's taking away a position, but then that opens up the doors for other things later. I'm not for or against it. I'm just sort of giving an argument of how do you look at this perspective of automation and how these things evolve and look back over time. I mean, there was times when we didn't, we had operators that were taking and unplugging lines and plugging lines in to connect your phone calls. Well, they don't have jobs anymore because we can now dial a phone number and it goes directly to the person we want to talk to.
Yeah, but were they ever, they weren't replaced. You remember when you called an operator and you actually got an operator? Do operators exist, by the way?
My mother was an operator and she was replaced because they don't need operators to actually pull the lines and plug them in and connect them anymore.
It's kind of sad, like the zero, and doesn't it still say like APOER, like operator? Doesn't it say that on most phones still? It's like the new generation, they don't even know what an operator was. Heck, they barely know how to pump their own gas. Thank you, everybody over on DLive. Thank you, Vicky K, for your nightly stop by. Says Merry Christmas. Scooby-Doo Right says, I'm here watching Renegade PD, Grand Illusion. Amanda Rachel, thank you. J Girl, that's me. Beard Juice again, thank you. Chance Paladin, thank you. Thank you for the bells. And then, of course, Scooby-Doo Right again. Thank you. Over on YouTube, Barbara, very big thank you. Barbara Hall, thank you for the super sticker. Stephen McMahon says, in case I'm frozen to death beforehand, Merry Christmas to you all. God bless all in this house. And then Ed Hage, or Ed Haggy, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thank you for doing a super chat for 22 euros. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just for future reference, because I don't recognize you, you can always write a message in there as well. You can write quite a bit if you do. I guess they let you write more the more you donate, the more you can write in. Let's see here. Which I think is kind of smart. Let's see here. And if it ever loads, as China's skyrocket, patients are told to go back to work. This is so weird, Dex. So they've gone from being completely locked down, barbed wire in their hallways, to can you go to work while you're sick? What is going on?
Yeah, I think they're struggling with the effects, the economic effects too, right? The fact that the zero policy was literally shutting down entire cities and manufacturing. I mean, just look at I keep using this example, but it's a prime example. Apple iPhones. I mean, their sales tanked in the fourth quarter, and it was so bad that they have now invested heavily to move as much iPhone production out of their country. So that was a huge economic loss to the people that work there, to the local cities, to the local or the larger governments of those regions, all the way up to the G level government. Right, losing that type of economics because they were going down this zero policy. It's a big deal, and it also affects the people that live there. So now they have a lot of people that don't have a paycheck, that don't have any money, but they're living in this newer modern economy where they actually have to work and they have to get money on their WeChat apps so they can buy their groceries and pay for their transportation when they jump on the train, all those things that they can't do right now because they don't have money. So I think they're looking at this like, hey, everybody's depressed. Everybody's been hurt by the zero policy financially. Why don't we just make them go to work and let them work even if they're sick because they'll be better because they have money and they can actually make money. And not only that, the government there can make money and they can get their GDP flowing again. Obviously, they're having a lot of economic issues that flow around this. So it's an interesting, but you're absolutely right. Like we were talking about them a month ago and it was like, welding doors shut and wrapping barbed wire around a building. Or it was like this super extreme things. And now it's like, hey, you don't feel good? Too bad. Get back to work.
Well, and it's like in a week, it was the white paper protests. Were they on the edge of getting... That's what's kind of crazy. There's a lot of ways you could look at this and you could believe what they're saying and say, there was rumors that Xi was going to be overtaken and lose power or something. Was he actually on the edge of that? Was there a revolution that was about to be planned and they did this out of being fearful? I doubt it. Why did they do it for 3 years in the first place for something that the majority of all of us have already had? And it's like, it's weird unless there's something there. And it goes back to that caller the other night that said, what if there's something even worse there that we don't know about, that they've been trying to keep on the low, that they didn't want, or they didn't want to come out yet, or they were trying to keep it contained and it's worse? I don't know. But then it wouldn't make sense that they did this. So then they're going to lose all their people, or maybe they needed to lose some people. 1.4 billion people. Maybe that's their plan to, I guess take care of the over encroaching people, right? I don't know. Is there other routes that you could go down this? Why was this done the way it was? The whole world 2 years before that has just gone back, not to normal, but stopped doing all this crazy stuff. And they did it up until a couple weeks ago. It's just weird. They dropped it overnight after the protests. And the protests started. We covered the first one was just a sign on a bridge. It makes you think that possibly other governments were involved, or maybe it's all a show. Maybe they did it and then they orchestrated it somehow, and then there's something even more nefarious coming soon. I don't know. They were stockpiling everything. They still are. Why? Doesn't make too much sense. I'm going to go back to this live map. We're going to refresh this, see where this is at now, and it's expanded. Look at that. Just in the time of the show, it has actually expanded to the very bottom of Texas. Wasn't a huge move, but it actually has moved more west and more east, and of course more south. Look at that. Negative 55, negative 66, negative 41, negative 50, negative 42. Oh, man. What is the temperature outside your house right now, where you are? Is it cold? And if you're in Europe, if you're over 70, just don't say anything, jerk. No, you can. If it's a beautiful 92 degrees out, then let us know. How cold is it? And then, Dex, go ahead.
I'm going to say the other map, we're now seeing Alabama, which it's important to me because you can, as you said, this is moving to the east, so it's going to hit me soon. I'm in Georgia. So Alabama's now in the yellow with outages. I'm just expecting to see the next thing happen as it continues to move east. We'll get more of those eastern states to start having some of these outages. And Texas is up to 85,000. So they're approaching the red, which will be 100,000 or more in this map. That's how it's broken down. 10,000 is yellow, 50,000 or more is orange, and 100,000 or more out in a single state is red.
85,000 in Texas without power. Tennessee 26, Louisiana 21, But as you see, it's kind of moving sort of as that map kind of expanded out this way. You're losing power over here because then you're getting down into the zero temperature and the negative temperatures. It's pretty freaky. Go ahead.
Well, and I can tell you, I mean, just like where I'm at, we've had rain. It's not been pouring down rain, but it's enough rain that everything's wet. Like the roads are still wet, everything's wet, the trees are wet, everything's dripping, and the wind's starting to pick up. So that means that cold air is getting here because it's going to be followed by a bunch of wind. But people like in these southern states where they have all this moisture and wet and rain, if it freezes, that's where the problem is. It's like the ice becomes heavy and things start to fall. Causes these outages, and that's exactly what when we have ice problems, that's when we typically see these major power outages.
I was about to say, we lost Dex. His power went out. No, that was me refreshing. Sorry, it took up too much computing power. Dex, let's go over the web only content. We've got a lot of stuff, a lot of really crazy things going on in the overflow. Let's go over that now.
Great. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that description on YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here to the page with all the news we just covered. You're going to get to that yellow bar. It says overflow. This is the rest of the story. Got a lot of updates there on Elon, a lot of the negative stuff. So a Tesla driver there was a huge pileup, I think 8 cars or more, some major crash, blaming the car now. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe that's the new way to get out of something, is to blame. If you're driving a Tesla, you can blame it on automatic driving, and now it's not your fault. They've gone after him again in the articles about Twitter advertisers that they're saying it's not going well. And now they're worried that because he's offering discounts in Canada and Mexico on the Teslas, that maybe that's a sign that there's gloom and doom for his company. So that's the Elon stories. There's plenty more. Some updates with SBF and FTX, and that would be Sam Bankman-Fried if you don't know the acronyms. And also Caroline, his girlfriend. There's an update on her and what's going on. I think she is pleading out and making a deal. The iCountry is really upset with Zelensky based on his speech, because he keeps claiming that the iCountry is offering all of this gear to Vlad, and they're saying, no, we're not. But I think we all know that they are, so I don't know why there's an argument. Some other updates going on with the conflict over there, some stuff with what the soldiers are saying about losing to themselves, some interesting perspective on Putin and his warped reality. I'll let you guys read that one. There's a startup out of that is making another flying vehicle. We've covered a few of these, but this one seems to be making some more progress. So I guess as it gets closer, we'll see. The pontiff came out and said, hey, we've got to watch out for this elegant demon that's lurking amongst them. And he wasn't just speaking to all of the congregation. He was speaking to the people inside the church, so to speak, those that are in close in the vat there. So he's made some pretty strange statements lately. So we kind of watch him a little bit. Population in the U.S. not really growing. It's kind of being sluggish. So there's an update on that. There's a lot more to cover here. Some updates with the Oogle, some stuff that's going on with the mushrooms in the Oregon and what they're doing, as well as some interesting things going on in Florida with a topic that I know a lot of people are interested in, that they're fighting back against. So we've covered a little bit of the stuff with the 3-letter agencies that are in bed with the social networks. There's also some stuff about TikTok and what they were doing to some journalists, as well as much more. So, man, there's a lot here tonight. So make sure you go click on the link. It's in the description. It's called Show Notes. It's right there on YouTube, on Rumble, or if you don't, just type in marfooglenews.com. That's marfooglenews.com, and then click on the thumbnail for the show. You'll get right here to the rest of the story. If you're not here, you're missing out. We put this together for you every night.
I love it how they call it "Have a Safe Trip." Oregon trains magic mushroom facilitators. a lot of that has been talked about over the last couple of years. Joe Rogan and others making it popular. And then ex-Google boss funding dozens of jobs in the B administration. Yeah, make sure to go read that. And TikTok spied on Forbes journalists. Go read these things. You got to go over and check them out. Also, just a reminder, we're going to be working together again with Cars for Heroes very soon. Make sure to go over, and if you have a car that is not running, go to the C4H over here, carsforheroes.org, and you can donate your running or not running car towards them. It is a tax-deductible write-off, and if it's a car or vehicle that you no longer need, it can go towards, they can fix it up and give it to a vet. Vets are obviously not treated that great in some states, and some states better than others. But right now, our vets need us. They were there when we needed them. So go to carsforheroes.org, and you can also suggest a vet. Most of the Terry, the founder, says that the majority of the people that are filling out the forms for these vets that get them are their family or friends. So it doesn't have to be the vet themselves. He says that the vets very rarely ask for themselves. It's usually a family member that fills out the form for them, and then they end up getting a vehicle. If they do win, usually they're given out every Monday on their local radio there, and they will actually get them a car and get them transportation, which if you don't have transportation, if you've ever not had a car and had to find a job, it's possible, but it's a lot easier when you have transportation. One of the first questions that I got asked in many of my interviews is, do you have a car? And when I did temp work, it was like, if you had a car, you worked. If you didn't, you didn't. If you had a car, you could take other temp workers and you'd be off to work in a second. So anyways, have a good night, guys. I love you. Dex, thank you so much for your service. Appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank the mods. They have done a great job of keeping it peaceful. Make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/friends. We've got Bones over there. We've got Chance Bowden, CJ Blaze, Jammer1, Lisa R. Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here. Long, silly name, very, very smart woman, and a very awesome channel. Wages World, what a great guy. Again, if you have that Christmas video ready for us, send us a link to it, and we'll get it into our Christmas special. Alaska Prepper, All Day Every Day, Ari, great creators down there. Donut Factory, closing in on 100,000. Willing Witness, closing in on 110. Jacob Israel, get him to 200,000. All right, guys, have a good night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you to everybody that supported tonight. Ed Hagi or Ed Hage, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And remember, the show, the shoutro continues on over on our third channel, Marfoogle Jams. If you're not subscribed over there, if you do like my corny looper music, then you can go find it there. And then thank you to Barbara Hall, Blue Boy 1968. I appreciate you. And of course, I believe actually Blue Boy, you are the top contributor along with Ed Haji. Thank you guys, and love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News, Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News, Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window.
All right, let's get this started. Ed Haji.
Be real, be real, be real, be I love you whether warm or cold, and I'll say it again until it gets so old. I love you whether warm or cold, and I'll say it again until it gets so old. I love you whether warm or cold, and I'll hold it, I'll hold it, I'll hold it, cold. I love you whether warm.
Hey, thank you everybody that made it tonight. I appreciate everybody over in the chat. Carol McLean, Carmine Petraka, Monk Searcher, Mystery School, Eric Bolt, Rachel Queen, Truth Iris. Keep looking for the truth. You guys are what makes this show happen. Thank you, KT Cleans a Lat. I appreciate you. Raquel R, thank you. I appreciate you. Justin McCormick, I appreciate you. Eric Bolt, I appreciate you. He is outside where apocalypse roams. Ricky Cannon, Do the Shake. Laurie Chambers, big shout out to David and Laura Reed.